Okay, Jamina and Claudia, here we are. We are here. We are week 2 video. I'm so glad you guys are here. Thank you so much for doing this. Claudia, the last time we met, we had Cheryl join us, and I was talking about how excited I am because we have meant that we didn't have the very first time around, which is our wise teacher women. And so you fall into that category. And just like I told Cheryl, I'm going to tell you too that you are our teacher. So we are here viewing you as that, and we are so excited just to learn from you, to hear your wisdom about things, and just to speak honestly about this thing called comparison. So that's what we're looking at right now. We're talking about comparison. We're talking about how it shows up in our lives, ways that we personally deal with it. And then this week as well, in this video specifically, we are going to look at just really what it costs us. So before we get into all of those details, I would like for you to first introduce yourself to all the ladies so they know who you are and can celebrate Claudia.
Okay.
Well, I am Claudia Hendricks, and I am 56 years old. I am from Argentina.
Awesome.
I came to Colorado in 1993.
Oh, wow.
I met my husband, Michael. He's a Colorado native, and we met in Argentina. He went as a missionary there, and we met, worked together for university ministry, and then we married, and we have 3 kids. I work part-time as a Spanish teacher at a high school in
That's
Boulder.
wonderful. Okay.
Yep. And I've been involved with women's ministry as long as I have memory.
Yeah. That's awesome. Oh, thank you so much. Again, I cannot express how happy I am that you are here with us. So thank you. And Jamina, you are joining us again as well. So if you wouldn't mind just to give us a quick little update, just refresh everybody's minds about what life looks like for you right now too.
Yeah, I think last time we filmed, my baby was like 7 months old, so he's going to be a year in 2 weeks.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm married for almost 3 years next month. I have another baby on the way, so that's exciting.
New baby.
Yeah, so it's exciting. But yeah, it's pretty much life right now. I still work very part-time on one day, so life other than that looks the same.
Okay. Awesome. Well, again, I'm a broken record over here, but thank you for being here. And I know the women, just the feedback I have received, have been so appreciative of your honesty and transparency. So we're going to give them more of that because that's why we are here. We're here to talk about these topics and these situations that we as women endure, and we're just going to be real about it. So that's kind of how I want us to lead into this discussion as well. And really, what I would like to do first is, if each of you are okay with it, if you're comfortable, just can you give us an example of how, like, what is one of the greatest comparisons that you battle with currently? So Jamina, if you wouldn't mind going first.
I have a couple of them, and I think it's funny because in the last 3 years, I've had a lot of change. You know, I went from being single to being married to being a mom. It all kind of happened very quickly. And so for me currently, body image is a huge thing, as, you know, having a baby, and what does that postpartum body look like? Comparing myself to other women, both negatively and positively, of like, oh, I want to look like that. Oh, I don't look like that, or I don't want to, go there at all. And wondering how some women do it, honestly, and wishing I had all that time and energy that I don't seem to have all of the time, to be completely honest. I do my best, but, that comparison has been huge. And then also the home thing is really big. I think we're in this Joanna Gaines, stage of life where we just want our house to be the prettiest, and we want it to look the best. And we recently actually moved from a different house, and I think looking at all the things to do in this new house sometimes makes me feel so ungrateful for this new house.
Exactly. Yes.
Because I just look at all the things we don't have rather than all the things we have. Well, I think I think we're very blessed to actually be where we are, but I don't always look at it that way.
Right.
So I think those two things are pretty big for me right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get it. Completely get it.
Yeah.
Okay, Claudia, how about you?
Well, I would say the number one comparison or pressure that I feel is what I have accomplished in my life so far. And that is something that I feel pressure.
Right.
And the other part is obviously I think as women, the body image, because at this age all the pieces start falling down.
Things go south, literally.
Well, they're not going up after breastfeeding either, let me tell you.
Oh, breastfeeding.
So, and so make peace with the internal beauty.
Yes.
And
that.
and how beauty is more than what you see, but is easy in the words. Live it in in the flesh
Absolutely.
is different. But
Yes.
I would say that those are my two pressure and points of comparison.
Okay. And so keeping in line with what you're talking about with the physical everything and how that is, in this day and age, everything is in our faces. So we can live the most public lives thanks to social media, Pinterest, all of those things. Everything about our lives can be put on display. And we get to choose what we portray.
Yes.
So we get to put forth all the beautiful and all the pretty and all the right angles and the right light and everything, the correct poses that present the most perfect body. So with that being everywhere we look, like you can't get away from it unless you get rid of your phone, take a break from your computer. Like it is in our faces nonstop, day in, day out. So with that being the case, this is the world that we live in, this is the reality of it. What has been exposed to it on such a continual level, what has that cost you? What has comparing yourself to what we see all the time in pictures and, again, blogs, Pinterest, everything, what has that cost you from comparing yourself to all those images?
Yeah.
Well, it's discouragement.
Yeah.
Right.
What I see is that I feel everything except for encouragement when I see that. And I remember the first time the social media was not available when I moved to the United States, but I remember my first Christmas receiving all these perfect pictures of these moms and dads and kids and girls with the perfect dress. And I thought, oh, I will never measure to this. And so I decided I will not send any Christmas card because my family is not perfect. My kids never sit down to take that picture.
Right.
And so, but I feel the same thing now, but multiplied.
Yes.
That I feel, oh, I will never be this person. I will never look like that. I will never accomplish that. I will never have that family.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a millennial, so things look a little bit different for me than they do. We do still have Christmas cards, though. But yeah, I think sometimes, whether this is behind the screens or in front of the screen, whether you're looking at your phone or taking pictures of yourself, I think at least for women, or at least for me, I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but it seems like we dress to impress other women sometimes.
Oh.
I don't know.
Yes.
Like, my husband has seen me in my worst. I mean, I've had a C-section. He's seen the insides of me, And yet I still feel this need to... if I wear a brand name purse, no guy's going to be like,
right.
Dang, but girls might. And for some reason, that just seems like that's what you want to wear it for. And so social media in that way seems the same to me, that we kind of just zoom in to see how this girl's makeup is done and if that looks fine and how does that body shape look. Oh, she's holding her baby and she's still got a good, good belly, or does she not have a good belly? at least those are the things, like I said, that I'm experiencing myself, or how good does that home look and all of that. But yeah, I think most of the time, sadly, it's to impress other women. And so when you ask, what has that cost me? I think sometimes it's cost me like just real relationships. I think a lot of times I just put myself on this platform that want to impress other people and lose the reality of, hey, this is like real life actually does not look like my house. Really neat. You know, I used to say I would never be one of those moms who had toys everywhere. And oh my gosh, I have toys everywhere right now because they just keep them entertained. And I'm like, I would much rather have this.
Yes.
And so, yeah, for me, it has cost me, I think, sometimes relationships of just being jealous of other women because I'm comparing myself to them. And therefore, I don't seek that like real relationship with them. Yeah.
Comparison always comes at a great cost. Not only does it sabotage our freedom, but it also steals our contentment. And so before we look more into that, we are just going to pick right back up where we left off last week with Leah and Rachel. So go ahead and grab your Bibles, and we're going to turn back to Genesis. We're going to be in chapter 30, and we're just going to see how this whole situation ends up playing out for Rachel and Leah. And we're going to just start to take a look to see what comparison cost them. So if you remember when we pressed pause last week on their story, these are sisters, okay? So Rachel and Leah, they're two sisters, and they are married to the same man. They are both married to Jacob, and they are obviously in a situation that serves as a breeding ground for comparison to take place. And the situations that they found themselves in too was like Leah is plain in her appearance, and Rachel is very beautiful. Leah is not loved by Jacob. Jacob very much, loves Rachel. Leah keeps having children. She keeps giving birth to children. Rachel is barren. So again, the opportunities for comparison to take root in both of these women are just ripe. So we just want to see how that plays out for them. So here we go. We are going to be in Genesis chapter 30, and we're just going to start right where we left off last week, which is with verse 1. And it says, when Rachel saw that she wasn't having any children, she became jealous of her sister. And remember, that word jealous, right there that guarantees comparison is like it's happening. So she became jealous of her sister. Give me children or I'll die, she exclaimed to Jacob. And I hope as women that we can just kind of have an appreciation for, the flair for drama, because I think we all have been there a time or two. But anyway, so here's Jacob's response to that. Jacob flew into a rage. Am I God? He asked. He is the only one able to give you children. Then Rachel told him, sleep with my servant Bilhah, and she will bear children for me. So Rachel gave him Bilhah to be his wife, and Jacob slept with her. Bilhah became pregnant and presented him with a son. Rachel named him Dan, for she said, God has vindicated me. He has heard my request and given me a son. Then Bilhah became pregnant again and gave Jacob a second son. Rachel named him Naphtali, for she said, I have had an intense struggle with my sister, and I am winning. Okay, so again, look at her attitude. Look at the mindset that Rachel is in. She feels like she is in an all-out war with her sister. And her sister, we're going to see, feels very much the same way. Meanwhile, Leah realized that she wasn't getting pregnant anymore. So she gave her servant Zilpah to Jacob to be his wife. Soon, Zilpah presented him with another son. Leah named him Gad, for she said, how fortunate I am. Then Zilpah produced a second son, and Leah named him Asher. For she said, what joy is mine. The other women will consider me happy indeed. Because, of course, it's so important what the other women think, right? And I hope we're starting to see how their comparison is leading them to these extremely impulsive, decisions and choices and actions. So one day during the wheat harvest, Reuben found some mandrakes growing in a field and brought the roots to his mother Leah. Rachel begged Leah to give some of them to her, but Leah angrily replied, wasn't it enough that you stole my husband? Now will you steal my son's mandrake roots too? Again, we're starting to see like what is truly going on inside of their hearts. Leah is just filled with anger towards her sister. Rachel said, I will let him sleep with you tonight in exchange for the mandrake roots. All right? Oh boy. So that evening, as Jacob was coming home from the fields, Leah went out to meet him. You must sleep with me tonight, she said. I have paid for you with some mandrake roots my son has found. So Jacob slept with her, and God answered her prayers. She became pregnant again and gave birth to her 5th son. She named him Issachar, for she said, God has rewarded me for giving my servant to my husband as a wife. Then she became pregnant again and had a 6th son. She named him Zebulun, for she said, God has given me good gifts for my husband. Now he will honor me, for I have given him 6 sons. Later, she gave birth to a daughter and named her Dinah. Okay. Now, before we get all fired up, right, over Leah and Rachel giving their maidservants over to Jacob to become their wives so that they could have children in their stead, we just need to push pause on our emotions, all right, and just take a deep breath and just calm ourselves down so that we can just understand the situation for what it is. Because here's the thing, this is Old Testament time. This is a very different culture. We do not live in a culture like this at all. But the fact is that women are still desperate to have children. And that's very much the same for us women today. We are not as different as we think. We take different drastic measures to make that happen. So again, looking at this culture and looking at this situation, were men supposed to marry multiple women during this time? No, that is still outside of God's original design and his good and perfect plan for marriage. But nonetheless, it happened. And that was the reality for Rachel and Leah. That's where they found themselves. And what was already just a mess of a situation, these two, okay, because of their comparison and because of them constantly at war with each other, took an already messy situation and they just made it a disaster. And so there was, a tremendous amount of pressure placed on women during this time to bear children because they had to continue the family lineage. That was an extremely important thing for them during this day and age. And so, unfortunately, a woman's entire worth and her value was determined on whether or not that she was able to have children. It all came down to, are you fertile? And again, is that right? Is that where where a woman's true worth and value comes from? No, it isn't. But it happened. And should wives have their husbands marry another woman so that she can have a child for her? Again, no. But that still happened. So before we throw stones or start to poke fun at these sisters, again, we've got to remember that we as women today, we are not that much different when it comes to doing all that we can to have children ourselves and doing all that we can to establish our worth and our value. And a lot of times women do that through being able to have children. So that desperation, it runs even higher when we see like our friends around us becoming moms. And as we saw with Rachel and Leah, that desperation was running high between the two of them. Leah wasn't satisfied enough that she had already had 4 sons, because as soon as Rachel started having children through her maidservant that she gave to Jacob, all of a sudden that jealousy came back up for her and she needed to start having more children. I mean, it was a game. It was awful. So last week, what we did was we wanted to identify how comparison manifests itself in our lives. So hopefully what you have done is you went through and you established, like you determined, how do you tend to compare yourself? Or do you lean more towards comparing yourself so that you feel better about yourselves? Do you compare yourselves, favorably to others so that you're like, I'm so much better than them and I have more and I'm doing great? Or do you compare yourself, in a negative way? Do you compare yourself to others and you walk away feeling worthless and that your whole life is just lacking because you do not have what other people have and you don't think you will ever measure up to that? So now that you have that determined, what we need to do from that point forward is we need to look at what comparison costs us. Because comparison does come, again, with a great cost. And we see that. We see that with Rachel and Leah. We can see that in our own lives. So that's what I want us to do, is just look at our own lives and how does that show up for us. So I will share with you really quick just a couple of personal stories about what comparison has cost me. So for me, I get sucked into Pinterest. I really do. I love Pinterest. I love scrolling through it. I love seeing pictures on there. I love looking at people's homes and everything that they post on there. But my issue is that when I see that, I then see what my house doesn't have, kind of like what Jamina was talking about, but then I go out and I buy it. So for me, comparison, when it comes to that, it literally costs me money. I go out and I spend money that I should not spend because I'm trying to make my home look like something that it doesn't look like. So for me, that's one of the things. Literally costs me money. On the other side of that, what I believe is more costly is it costs me my joy. 100%. That is the very first thing to go for me when I start comparing myself to others, is my joy is just gone. And it's really, really hard for me to get that back. And so I want to share one other story with you about how that truly played itself out in my life. So about a year after Matt and I got married, this is what happened. Let me back up a little bit. Before we got married, I knew that when I got married, I wanted a huge diamond ring. My ring was going to be bling bling. It was going to be beautiful. It was going to be big. I wanted a big diamond. I wanted, all of that, bedazzled. So that's what I ended up getting. I got a ring just like that. I had a set. It was gorgeous. It was a trillion diamond. It was set up high in the setting. It was fabulous. It was everything I ever wanted. But when I had that, once I got that, all I would notice on women was their wedding rings. It was the very first thing that I would look for. I would look to their hands and I would see what their rings look like. And then I would determine how good my marriage was based off of how much better or how much not as good, my wedding ring was compared to other women's rings. And this just took hold. Like it got a grip on me and it did not let go. And it just kept festering and growing and getting bigger and bigger to the point of where I couldn't appreciate anything about any other woman's ring because it was it was a game for me, and it mattered because I wanted to be winning and I wanted my marriage to be winning, and how I thought my marriage was going to be winning was if my ring was bigger than every other woman's. So this, continued on. And then one day I did what I call my dangerous prayer. And I swear to this, if you pray this prayer, it is a dangerous prayer. Be prepared for what you're going to hear or receive in return from God when you pray this prayer. But the dangerous prayer that I call it is when I ask God to search my heart. When I ask him to just search me and to bring to my attention anything that is in me that I need to get rid of in my life, that I need to address, situations that, what is in me that is not of you. And so I had prayed this prayer and God answered that prayer instantaneously. And I knew as soon as he said it, I knew he was right. And it was about my wedding ring. And I was fully, aware, like, oh, okay. Yeah, no, that's happening. But then I thought, well, maybe God, no, okay, maybe I just need to pray about this a little bit more just to make sure this is really what God is saying. So I stalled with it, right? Because I'm thinking, okay, maybe this isn't quite it, but I knew. And so when I came back and had prayed again, once again, God was right there. And I heard him speak so clearly and so directly to me. And what he told me was, you have let an otherwise very beautiful thing turn your heart ugly. And it was instant conviction for me. And again, he was right. And I was ashamed of myself for allowing something like that to turn my heart that way, for allowing myself to fall into that and to, let it take hold of my life the way that it did. So I wasn't quite sure what to do about that. So I continued to pray about it some more. So I truly did want God's, direction on that. Like, what am I supposed to do? And so I just waited to hear from God, and he did. He let me know that I needed to give my wedding ring away. I needed to give it up. And so I ended up doing just that. I went to my husband. I told him what was going on. I let him know that, I need to give my wedding ring away and explain the situation to him. And he was very supportive of it. So we weren't quite sure how to give that away. And what it ended up coming down to was for us to donate it, to give it as a gift in donation. So we did. And that is where I'm going to stop. That's where I'm going to end this story, because I will let you know the rest of it at the very last session on what happened, what was a result of that. So for me, in that moment, what it cost me, it cost me my ring, because I couldn't handle it. I did not have the maturity or the ability to have something lovely like that without letting it completely infest my heart. And it turned me into somebody it should have never turned me into. I gave it a power it was never, ever intended to have. So that's what that cost me. It has actually cost me, a ring. So it's embarrassing to say that now, but here I am just being real with you guys. So that's what I want us to do. I want us to go back again. We're going to read this story that we just read, with Rachel and Leah. So you're going to be in Genesis. You're going to be in chapter 30 and verses 1 through 24. That's what I read today. Go back through those, and I want you to first make a list of how it showed up in these women and what it cost them. Really look at these scriptures, look at their reactions, look at what they were doing and what was going on. And just like Jamina had said, it cost them their relationship. Like there's a given for you. These are sisters, and their relationship is destroyed by comparison. And so, as Jamina was saying, like, her comparison costs her authentic relationships with other women. So start there. Look at what comparison cost them. Then once you have that list of what you've seen between Leah and Rachel, then go through and make a list of what is it costing you? What has it cost you, in the past? What is it costing you presently, right now, today? Is it authentic relationships? Is it money? Is it joy? Can you not even appreciate what you have because you are so focused on what you don't have? Are you always jealous? Can you not even celebrate with people or friends or feel legitimately happy for others when they have, successes, when they have children, when they buy a home? Because comparison steals you. It robs you of the ability to actually be happy for other people and to celebrate with them. So that's where we're going to end. And when we come back next week, we are going to look at what is the root cause. Like, we are going to get down to the root cause and the root issue of comparison. What does that stem from? Because it does. It has a root cause. So we're going to unearth that. And I'm really excited for us to do that together. And then after that, we are going to look at how to overcome it. So thank you, ladies, so much. I hope my bunny did not distract you too much. Oh my gosh, I have a bun and she's been running around like crazy. But as always, I love you. I appreciate you. I am praying for you. I pray for you every single day. And I hope you have a wonderful week, and we will see you next time.